are you ready to get extreme?
I mean, X is already in the name, but I feel like you're jumping some guns here.
You're right, because before we can become extreme, there's actually a little bit of a step process. First, we have to be 16, so we'll get to that. Second, then we gotta go to Mars. Yeah, no, just casually go to Mars. Then after Mars, we're gonna take a little bit of a dive near Saturn, and then I think after then, we can call ourselves extreme.
If we made our way to space, that would be pretty extreme on its own.
Yeah, no,
But we're not talking about space. We're talking about Sonic X-treme today, a notoriously canceled game from the Sonic series.
Yeah, probably like one of the most famous canceled Sonic games out there.
Oddly enough, there's a lot to unpack here, and I think this is going to be a bit of a big episode.
Yeah,
Or maybe two?
I think too, just because there is a lot to unpack here, and I don't think we can contain that in one episode.
So, like, I guess before we get into this, like, what's a like a general summary of Sonic X-treme is that it is a canceled Sonic game. What was going to be like the first 3D Sonic game for
the Saturn, right?
I think the latest iteration was intended for the Saturn and even maybe a PC port too. But in order to get to that point, which ultimately wound up failing, it ultimately wound up getting canceled because of internal politics and a bunch of other stuff. There's actually quite a few jumps to get from what came out before Sonic 16.
It was Sonic and Knuckles, right?
Sonic
Spinball?
It might have been Spinball. Was it Spinball? Yes, after Spinball.
But what the heck is Sonic 16? You said Sonic 16, and now I'm confused.
Before we get to Extreme, we have to go back to where things started after the completion of Sonic Spinball around 1993. So around this time, evidently Sega of America was trying to develop a launch title for, there was the Mega Drive at the time. And if you recall, the Saturday AM cartoon series was coming out with characters like Sally Acorn and Antoine and whatnot. So they tried to create a video game called, at the time, Sonic 16, which was supposed to feature the characters from the Saturday AM cartoon series.
Oh, cool.
It was a lot more slow-paced. It was a lot more story-driven. And these characters, which at this point had only been in the cartoon series, were going to make their debut in the game. And actually, I got a little bit of a little screenshot here of what the graphics looked like. At the time, they were calling it Sonic 16 because it was only supposed to be about 16 megabytes, which at the time was rather large. So the graphics in this game actually looked pretty good for the time. In this one image that we got here, like Sonic isn't just like this 8-bit sprite. He's got some detailing. He's got some shading and stuff. It wouldn't come to completion because lead programmer of the OG Sonic the Hedgehog game, Yuji Naka, basically came by to check on the project and it was just like, thumbs down.
That screenshot you showed is actually from like a full, like a little video. I believe it was for a demo of Sonic 16. You can see that like things look gorgeous. Like there's actually like quite a bit of detail in like Sonic's even like basic animations, but you can also see that things are just slow. Sonic isn't slow. The idea of a slow Sonic seems heretical.
Absolutely. But anyways, I bring up Sonic 16 because a piece of the wiki article here on Sonic 16 says that according to Chris Sen, an important character in the story a bit later on, Sonic 16 was supposedly another phase of the canceled Sonic X-treme game, which we'll get to eventually. After Sonic 16, the game that was supposed to feature the Saturday AM cartoon characters, after that was scrapped, they moved on to work on basically another version of the project known as Sonic Mars, which actually I was tipped onto by one of my viewers one time who asked me if I had heard of it before. And I was like, I'm only familiar with the Saturn. I've never heard of the Mars before. And they're like, oh, they're two completely different things. So oddly enough, at this point in time, Sonic 16, I believe the wiki page says it was being developed for the Mega Drive, but it seems like elsewhere there might have been either another version of 16 or maybe there was more for Sonic Mars, but things were being developed for the Genesis. But by this point in time, as hardware was evolving and the other models were becoming less popular, and especially as Nintendo was coming out with their N64, their cartridge-based game console, they were like, we got to move on from here. So Sonic Mars, which was, I guess, the logical next step of Sonic 16, was an expansion for the Mega Drive that they started developing Sonic Mars for, and they wanted some sort of launch title for this. And so as opposed to Sonic 16, which was a lot more slow, a bit more story driven, Sonic Mars was another platformer type game featuring the same Saturday AM cartoon characters. Honestly, it has this sort of level style where it is three-dimensional. You walk around in kind of an XYZ plane, but you kind of are on top of, I don't know how else to describe this aside from two-dimensional tiles arranged in a three-dimensional space. And I've got some screenshots to back that up here. Like, do you kind of know what I mean here?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, and yeah, I think you've described that perfectly. That yes, you are in a three-dimensional space, but these platforms are just 2D.
We've got cases of Sonic going up and down slopes, doing these new moves that we've never actually seen him do before. I knew I saw somewhere a list of the different moves that Sonic in the 16 and Mars version had as opposed to the games prior. And I think it involved like a ring toss ability. There was an ability where he could kind of roll it to a ball and push out his quills in all directions to hit all enemies.
Yeah. I will say, in terms of like those kind of abilities, I thought the one about the ring toss, I thought that was very interesting because it's almost like a early ancestor of the eventual dummy ring attack that like Tails gets in the later games. The ring attack fascinates me because from what I read on it, you weren't throwing a fake ring. Like you were actually losing rings to throw this ring, like hypothetically, obviously.
Well, duh. If you take money out of your pocket and throw it at somebody, you've lost 5 cents. Obviously.
So you're saying that when that 5 cents hits someone, they explode and like a little animal might come out, or they just explode.
One of the things that we see here in Sonic Mars are some notes on the development and notes on the plot, which kind of gives a bit of a precursor to the Lycos. Why don't you give a little bit of spoiler? How many plots were there planned for X-treme?
For Sonic X-treme, I think there were like 6 total plots for the game.
Oh my gosh.
5 to 6. We'll get into that when we get into it, because there's actually a little bit I have to explain there.
For at least the concept of Sonic Mars, it was going to introduce a new character known as Tiara Bobowski, or Tiara B, as she liked to be called, or Tiara Cyberewski, not at all related to Sally Acorn, apparently.
Yeah, because basically it was like she looked very similar to Sally, but that was purely coincidence.
At least for Sonic Mars, the basic plot was going to be, hey, Sonic's friends have been kidnapped. Sonic is away in the Great Forest. Sally, Bunny, Tails, and Knuckles get a strange message. They take them all away, and apparently Robotnik captured the friends, and now Sonic has to go to this VR world to save his friends and thwart Robotnik's plan to, quote, reformat Micro Mobius. Whatever the heck a Micro Mobius is.
That's the name of this VR world, because apparently Eggman was trying to take it over, and then he's like, I have prisoners. Throw them in the VR world I'm trying to take over. Which, part of my brain is like, if it's a VR world, couldn't you just, Control Alt Delete?
Why don't you just unplug it?
No, seriously, like, this
is where I imagine Tiara Bobowski, and we've heard of the Bobowski name before. I don't know if y'all recall Gazebo Bobowski. Same family. That's where I guess the name Cyberewski came from, as this new character was being developed as a character in the cyber world, I suppose. Eventually, what winds up happening with Sonic Mars on our way to Sonic X-treme is we have some key players here that pop into the scene yet again. Yuji Naka comes by and gives a bit of a tentative green light for this game, and he's like, you know, you guys are trying to develop a new Sonic game. I've got some experience with that. Good luck! And then he walks away, and they're all like, I guess we're good. But the circumstances of the I guess we're good were not actually that good at all. There were tight deadlines, very bad internal politics, a lot of egos at play here, according to interviews with Chris Sen later on. And one of the lead designers at the time, Michael Kosaka, one of like the lead developers, designers at this time, wound up completely leaving the project entirely, passing it on to Chris Sen, who at the time was a rather inexperienced programmer, inexperienced developer, but the entire brunt of the project was led upon him.
Yikes.
Because of other pressures, like people just not being interested in the, the cartoon characters at all. A lot of aspects got scrapped. A lot of things got reworked before we moved on from this 32X Mega Drive expansion to the next best piece of hardware, which would be the Sega Saturn. Oddly enough, at this point in time, according to at least one interview I was able to find, before the, let's call it, for lack of a better term, the X-treme Saga project went from the 32X to the Saturn, there was apparently an internal system that was being developed by, I think, NVIDIA at the time, that was supposed to be a cartridge type gaming system as opposed to a CD based gaming system, because the N64, it seemed like Nintendo was going to do really well for it. But apparently things didn't really pan out, especially because of some tensions between Sega of America, Sega Technical Institute, or STI. So that's an unfortunate acronym. I'm not as familiar on what the difference between Sega of America and Sega Technical Institute happens to be at the time, but things wound up going crazy. So they scrapped it and they moved on. Some other aspects that I find interesting about Sonic Mars is just seemingly the collection of pieces in the game that seem to be either references to previous IP, references to things that would happen in the future, especially with the prior knowledge of what is contained in Sonic X-treme, which we haven't formally gotten to in the episode yet. So to start with, let's go through some of the characters that you find in Sonic Mars. I'm sure you're already familiar with Sally Acorn, Bunny Robot, Dr. Robotnik. I don't think Antoine made its way into this game, but Antoine was being planned for the Sonic 16 version of the game. Oddly enough, we've got a description of King Cyberusky, ideally the father of Tiara Cyberusky, elderly and benevolent leader of Micro Mobius being this VR world. Princess Tiara herself, daughter of King Cyberusky, she will vie for Sonic's attention, much to Sally's displeasure.
I've never seen that word before.
What, vie?
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Yeah.
That's funny. And then we have this third character that I know nothing about it aside from your reaction to finding this character's sprite in Sonic X-treme. They're known as the mips.
Oh,
the mips being the inhabitants of Micro Mobius.
Yes. Oh my gosh. They look like little bearded men. I saw them, and I'm like, these are little guys with beards. That's what they are.
I thought the name MIPS was kind of cute because if they were specifically developing this game for a 32-bit system, the 32X, MIPS is a type of computer architecture. MIPS is MIPS stands for microprocessor without interlocked pipeline stages. And I was like, oh, dude, this is a reference to the hardware, right?
Well, on the trivia, because they have their own page, of course they do. It was dubbed by Michael Kosaka and is an abbreviation for a computer term, million instructions per second.
That's fair too. Yeah, you could see that.
The MIPS were the inhabitants of this world, and basically each stage was going to have their own color of MIP and their own action. So I don't know if that was actually specifically for this or if they were planning to be included in Sonic X-treme. But basically, in the first stage, they're blue, magenta, or purple, and they kind of they bounce up and down. But then it was maybe the next stage, they'll be red, orange, and yellow, and they'll be they move side to side.
I love the fact that the MIPS on this page just look like they're just hue shifted versions of each other.
They do.
It literally looks like a hue shift. This is our little MIPS dude, and you just go through it. And he just changes. He's regular. We got the red head. We got the purple blue head. And then the cyan head.
And again, I don't like the fact where it's the game. This page, it refers to them almost like an animal because that's kind of the role they're taking. But the sprites themselves, they look very human.
Are you trying to tell me that clearly bearded man is considered an animal?
Yes, because top of the page. MIPS are creatures that were set to appear in Sonic the Hedgehog series. They are the replacement of the animals and populate the worlds in the game.
Okay, but they're replacements of animals.
But they're taking that role. You see what I'm saying?
The description of them too says, in the concept artwork for X-treme, MIPS look like little marshmallows or triangles, but in the levels, they're colored balls with black eyes. Now I wonder,
what are these
Where
MIPS?
the heck did the bearded man come from?
Yeah, no. Okay, maybe this MIP, the bearded man MIP, was for Sonic Mars, and then the ones that are the triangle or the marshmallow were the ones that they were going to put into Sonic X-treme?
Maybe.
Like, that's the only thing I can really think of. Because the screenshot we have here, which I'm assuming is from, like, some of the files from Sonic X-treme, these do not look like little bearded men. Also, the little
Not
gif
any
of
little
them,
bearded men I've ever
they're all
seen.
like,
I'm sure they're speaking their, little mippy language. Going through the bosses in this game and going through the names of the levels in Sonic Mars. And some of these has some crossover to Sonic X-treme as well.
Mm-hmm.
The bosses in the game, and let me know if any of these names sound familiar to you.
Okay.
There's the Frozebotnik,
Okay.
Belgenetnik,
Gesundheit.
Trouble Clef Trap, not treble, Trouble, Orbotnik,
Okay, that one sounds familiar.
Octoknik, like Octo,
Yeah.
and then just the Endless Loop Trap.
I kind of wish we had a picture of this treble clef trap because I just thought of, what was it, the egg brass?
Trouble Clef Trap.
You know the joke
Like,
they're
you're
going
gonna get
for.
in big trouble. Oh, I know exactly what they're going for.
But no, I feel like
And I
this
know
thing
exactly
would,
what you're talking
would
about.
pair so nicely with the egg brass. Come on,
But I like-
treble clef trap, play it with me.
But then we got that one boss named Orbotnik. Apparently made its appearance in King's Gambit in King's Gambit Zone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about that, but the name Orbotnik makes me think like Orbot and Cubot.
Yeah, which again,
Probably no relation, but
yeah, because they didn't come out until Sonic Colors, and that was like what, 2011, 2012?
oh, 2010. 2010.
Okay, I was 2 years old. Okay,
What the heck were you talking about, stupid machine?
honestly, I will take that. I was really close with the year.
You were really close there. Now, another thing, the only other thing I want to mention before we officially make our way to the next game, right, are the names of the zones.
Okay.
And evidently, at the end of each of these zones, you would be able to find one of Sonic's friends that have been trapped in Micro Mobius.
Mm-hmm.
You got the King's Gambit zone, the Icebreaker zone, Fat Tuesday zone.
What does that even mean?
It's like Mardi Gras, I guess.
What is can we bring back Fat Tuesday? Like, you know how you call like Wednesday like hump day? Can we bring back Fat Tuesday?
No, but like Fat Tuesday is the final day of Carnival, aka Mardi Gras.
Okay, that I actually did not know.
So it's like a Mardi Gras zone. It's like a Mardi Gras zone, which sounds cool to me.
That sounds fun.
But we also got the Dreamweave zone, the Cryptic Grotto zone, and Core Memory zone. All very computer terms, like Fat Tuesday, not to my knowledge a computer term. So at this point, Sonic Mars was eventually left to Chris Sen after Michael Kosaka wound up leaving Sega for reasons. If you want more details on that, there's plenty of deep dives out there that go into much better explanation than what we're capable here at LoreX. But Chris Sen then feels the pressure to take all of the Saturday AM cartoon characters out of this, start developing not for a Mega Drive-based expansion to 32X, but for Sega Saturn instead. And somewhere along the line, there is a script that is resurfaced in 2007 that talks about Sonic Mars, Sonic 3 Plus, as well as this other game called Sonic Stadium, which goes by 3 other names. Sonic Studium, a misspelling of stadium, Sonic Crackers, a misspelling of Sonic Clackers. Clackers, like, you know those little balls on the end of the strings, Lycos?
Yeah.
That you can swing around and hit against each other? Anything seem familiar to you about maybe, if one ball is a character and the other ball is a character and they're attached together, not being able to go too far apart? What game does that sound like to you?
Oh shoot! Wasn't that wasn't that one of the gimmicks of Knuckles Chaotix?
It is, but you know who did it first?
Sonic Clackers? Crackers?
Sonic Crackers, Clackers. The wiki page refers to it as Crackers, but it seems that it's a misspelling of Clackers.
Okay. You said it was either like Sonic Crackers or Sonic Clackers. Was that a translation thing? Because I know because I know L's and R's are that's a constant like mistranslation thing from Japan to here. So
yeah, pretty sure it's is it a kanji thing?
It might be. But also like Sonic Crackers. Oh man, I can't wait to eat my Sonic crackers. This one's shaped like Sonic. This one tastes like Tails. This one's Eggman cracked in half. This one's
my gosh,
Sally's head.
Watch where you're going with that reference there, Lycos.
Do you have a problem with Sonic-shaped crackers?
No, I got no problem with it at all. I'm sure they taste delicious. Oddly enough, for this game, this very, very base version here, it honestly didn't look like it had much of a graphical interface. It looked like it was all done from like a command line interface. It is, and I'll quote this from the website, it's believed that this Sonic Clacker Stadium or whatever was supposed to be an engine test piece of software, essentially being able to test multiple different game engines swapped out in real time. But there were a lot of aspects from this Clackers program that shared a lot of similarities with what we would see later on for Knuckles Chaotix. For example, there happened to be this ring item. It would attach to both characters, and those characters would be linked to each other, not able to move too far from the other. Which totally sounds like the
Knuckles Chaotix.
The bound rings in Knuckles Chaotix. In addition, it seemed that there were 7 worlds in the game, each with, quote, 5 different attractions and a single field level, which, at least from the videos that I've seen of Knuckles Chaotix, it's kind of the way that the worlds worked. There was like a central hub, different areas in the hub that you could all go through, kind of functioning as stages. It looks kind of confusing and rather chaotic, for lack of a better term, from somebody who hasn't played the game like myself. Oddly enough, Lycos, there's actually a couple pieces of information on the Sonic Crackers page in regards to some interesting info about Knuckles Chaotix.
Oh?
And I wonder if that's worth... I know we did an episode on Chaotix already, but like it appears like even though Sonic and Tails were missing from Chaotix, there's like stuff in the Crackers version that seemed to imply that they were once a part of the game themselves.
Oh.
I think essentially the idea here is that if Sonic Crackers was supposed to be a prototype for Knuckles Chaotix, then it's possible that Sonic and Tails, who were included in this particular program, were going to be in Chaotix at one point, but scrapped for some other reason.
Because isn't it in the end product of Knuckles Chaotix, basically they have like a cameo at like the end of the game, like they're on like the tornado in like the final scene or something like that?
Yeah, you're right. I almost forgot about that. I know I said there really wasn't a lot. There really wasn't much of a graphical interface here, but there are some like demo engines that could be loaded, and they had some pretty cool looking images. And it does kind of remind me of Sonic Mars in a way, but instead of it being like three-dimensional, like looking on at an angle, it's a little bit more like isometric view.
Yeah, so like this is giving me like Hubert, but it's also reminding me of a later game like Digimon World Dawn and Dusk. Their map layout was kind of similar to this.
And even for something a little bit more close to the time too, like I don't know if you recall what Sonic Labyrinth looks like.
Vaguely.
Like, the two Sonic Mars and Sonic Crackers both kind of give me a similar vibe. Or actually, no, even better, Sonic 3D Blast, but a lot more colorful, which we'll get to later on too, because that's also a part of the story. Dialing back from Sonic Crackers, which is not technically a part of the saga here, I just kind of thought it was kind of a cool little one-off over here. Sonic Mars, which seemed to come from Sonic 16, would eventually become known by a couple of different names. Among the names for the game that was planned for the Saturn include Sonic Saturn, Sonic Ringworlds, Sonic Boom, no space in between Sonic and Boom is specifically capital B, capital O, capital M, and Sonic X-treme. Which is there's a lot to unpack with Sonic X-treme specifically now that we've gotten up to this point. So
this game already seems like a bit of a nightmare before it's even gotten started, because technically it had like 2 to 3 like pre-evolutions before it even got here. And the fact that it's also been like, oh, develop this game for this console. Oh wait, here's a new console, develop it for this instead. That just seems like a nightmare. And even if they could even try to convert what they could to save something from their previous work, like, ugh.
Yeah, dude. And just to give you a little bit of a precursor, like the development process for Sonic X-treme was so, let's call it dire, that at least one developer actually closed the lease on where they were living to move into the office to work on the game around the clock, even sleeping in the office to get it done. To put that in perspective, that was I used to work for a small startup company, and there was a time in the company's history where people slept overnight to get work done. I was never one of those people. That feels like crazy work conditions to me.
Yeah, no, because that for me, regardless of working, I'm like that is a step too far.
If we want to segment things out, we can leave the precursor to Sonic X-treme here and then continue it next week.
Yeah, now that we have a little bit of context of like everything kind of going up toward extreme, now I feel like we're cool enough, we're knowledgeable enough to become extreme.
In the meantime, while we're collecting all the information for Extreme itself, I wonder if there are any demos out there that you can actually play.
Oh, for like Clackers 16 and Mars. Because I mean, I know for 16 there's like a demo video out. I don't know if that's like a thing you can find and actually like play on an interactive medium. I don't know if we have anything for like that or for Mars.
Well, I can go do some searching on that.
Yeah. And if we find any like links or anything, we'll provide them in the description.
So we'll be back with you guys again next week for more extreme discussion. I'm gonna go do searching.
All right.
And Lycos, what are you gonna be up to?
Well, you need to go up to Mars to see if you can find Sonic Mars. So we can't invest in the ship. So I'm gonna put on a really big boot and prep your hiney because I'm gonna kick you to Mars.
Yeehaw!